Welcome back to Magnetic Mind Hacks, where clarity creates choice, choice creates change, and change creates the life you love. In the last video, we talked about beta. Beta is the active waking state. Thinking, planning, analyzing, working, responding, solving problems, and when beta becomes too intense, the mind can feel stuck in overthinking, worry, pressure, and mental traffic. Today, we're moving into the next state, alpha. And this matters because alpha is the bridge. Alpha is the calm state where rewiring begins. When we rewire our minds, not the deepest state, not the sleep state. What alpha is, it's not even the fully subconscious doorway yet. The bridge, the transition, the place where the mind begins to soften is alpha. The place where pressure starts losing its grip, and the place where your body begins to receive the message. We are safe enough to slow down. And for many people, this is the missing piece. They're trying to change their thoughts while their mind is still tense. They're trying to affirm a new identity while their body still feels threatened. They're trying to visualize abundance while their nervous system is still bracing. And they're trying to manifest some pressure. They're trying to meditate from frustration. And you can't manifest from pressure, and you can't meditate from frustration. So they're also trying to reprogram the subconscious while the conscious mind is still shouting. And then they wonder why the new belief does not land. They wonder why the affirmation feels fake. They wonder why the visualization feels forced. They wonder why they keep failing and falling back into the same emotional loop. But Magnetic Mind Hacks teaches this clearly. There is no failure. There is only feedback. And your state matters because your state affects how your mind receives information. Your state affects how your body responds to a new belief. And your state affects whether an identity statement feels possible or ridiculous. And your state affects whether you can actually hear yourself clearly. So, before we go deeper into subconscious rewiring, we have to understand the bridge alpha. Alpha is commonly associated with calm awareness or relaxed focus. The body is more relaxed, the mind is less crowded, so you're awake but not as mentally tense, and you are aware but not as pressured. You are present but not trying to force everything, and you may recognize alpha from everyday moments, taking a calm walk, staring out the window, driving a familiar route, washing dishes, folding laundry, listening to soft music, sitting quietly, breathing slowly, doing a simple repetitive task. Letting the mind settle without demanding an answer is what you're really doing. And that is the energy of alpha. It's not unconscious, it's not asleep, it's not checked out, it's relaxed awareness. Because most people are trying to transform themselves from pressure, but pressure usually creates resistance, and resistance will always get in the way of what you love and desire. So pressure says change now and fix this now. Get it right now. Be healed now. Be confident now. Manifest now becomes the new version now. So this is where you get to become the true new version of now. And the nervous system hears that as more demand, more performance, more urgency. But alpha is different, right? Alpha does not force the door open at all. Alpha softens the door. Alpha creates mental spaciousness and a place for more awareness and relaxation to exist. Alpha gives the conscious mind room to breathe, in other words. Alpha helps you shift from mental traffic into inner listening. And this is why alpha is such an important bridge for rewiring. Because you cannot always plan a new belief into a tense mind. You cannot always receive a new identity while fighting yourself. You can't always access clarity while your system is in alarm. Sometimes before the breakthrough, there has to be a softening. Before the new thought, there has to be a space. Before the affirmation, there has to be safety. Before the visualization, there has to be receptivity. And before the identity shift, there has to be calm enough to imagine yourself differently. That's what alpha gives you. A bridge, not the full destination, a bridge, not the process of overthinking, from overthinking into awareness, from pressure into presence, from mental noise into mental space, from reaction into choice, from forcing into receiving. And here is the mind hack: calm is not passive, compassion is not complacency. Calm is preparatory in its own way. So let that land. Calm is not passive, calm is preparatory, okay? Calm prepares the mind to choose differently. Calm prepares the body to feel safe with something new. Calm prepares the nervous system to stop rehearsing the old emergency and stop clenching and bracing for the next fatality, right? Calm prepares the subconscious to receive new instruction. And a calm state is not you doing nothing. It is you creating the conditions where something new can actually land. This is why so many people misunderstand transformation. They think change only happens when they are pushing, grinding, trying harder, thinking harder, forcing themselves, criticizing themselves, demanding more discipline. But sometimes the next level does not require more pressure. Sometimes it requires more permission. Permission to slow down, permission to listen, permission to come back to the body, permission to let the mind breathe, permission to stop treating transformation like punishment. Because if your inner work feels like punishment, your system will resist it, period. If your affirmations feel like a fight, your system will question them, period. And if your meditation feels like another task to perform perfectly, your system will tense up, period. So if your manifestation practice it feels like desperation, your system will keep hearing fear. So Alpha teaches us a different way. Alpha says, let the system soften first. Not because we're avoiding change and not because we are preparing for change. This is the bridge between beta and theta. So it's because we're preparing the change, we're preparing for a space for that change to land. Beta is active thinking. Theta is deeper subconscious receptivity. Alpha sits between them. Alpha helps you leave the noise of pressure thought in your everyday life without falling asleep. It is awake enough to choose, calm enough to receive, present enough to notice, and spacious enough to reframe. That's why alpha is so valuable for magnetic mind hacks, because we are not just repeating nice words, we are learning how the mind works. We're learning how state affects identity, and we're learning how awareness creates choice, and how choice creates change, and how change is what it's all about here. So let's make this practical. Your choice creates your reality and the experience that you get to choose and be aware of the conscious decision that you made to be in. So when you want to shift into an alpha bridge state, use this 3-step practice. Step 1, lower the pressure, release the pressure, take the pressure off. Step 2, say to yourself, I do not have to force change in this moment. I am creating space for change. That sentence matters. You might not know it, but you've just hacked into a different level of awareness in your own mind, because it tells the mind that this is not another emergency. You're not attacking yourself. You're not demanding instant perfection. And you are creating space, more importantly. Step 2, find the mind one soft point of focus. The mind calls down all kinds of thoughts and impressions into your experience, into your body, into your feelings. But the mind calms down when attention has somewhere gentle to rest. Not something stressful, not something complicated, something simple. Your breath, for instance, is a really good one, or your heartbeat, your feet on the floor, and the sensation that you feel between the two. Concentrating and looking at 3 things and calling them out and really focusing on what they are. A candle flame is another good one. Some soft music or anything that lights your senses up. And the feeling of your hands is another one that people seem to forget about, that they can always use to ground themselves back into their body. So a slow walk can be another one, a repetitive task, and the sound of water or even rain is a really good one. One sentence repeated slowly can help as well. One image held gently within your mind. And here's a fun fact: the longer you get at holding that image, the easier manifestation becomes in your life. And the point is not to force the mind blank. The point is to reduce the number of open loops. So the point is controlled focus. The more focus that you can get on the one item or the one circumstance or the one situation is the more control you have over your entire mind and ultimately your entire life. So the point is to reduce the number of those open loops. And you are teaching your attention to stop scattering everywhere, essentially. You're giving it one calm place to return. And that is how mental spaciousness begins. So, training your mind through focusing on the breath constantly, or either the heart or something else, right? Don't keep bouncing around things. Train your mind to, when we focus on that thing, it's time to get into that alpha state. And now I know that I'm in the state where I can create, I can relate, I can receive, I can give, and I can ultimately download or accept higher guidance or intuitive impulses from within. So you're giving it one calm place to return. And that is how mental spaciousness begins. Step 3, ultimately, that leads us into plant one identity statement, right? Not 21. When the mind is calmer, do not overwhelm it with a whole new personality. Give it one clear instruction. For example, I am safe to slow down, or life is abundant and I am safe, or I can choose my next thought, or I am becoming someone who responds with clarity, or I do not need pressure to create progress, or I am learning to receive my new identity calmly. Choose one statement and repeat it slowly. It can be up to you, one that resonates with you, and one that concretizes that identity into reality. Not mechanically, not desperately, right? Not like you are begging the universe. Repeat it like you are introducing your system to a new truth, because that is what rewiring is. It is repeated exposure to a new internal pattern. And alpha helps that repetition feel less like a fight. It feels and helps the new belief feel more approachable, ultimately more believable, more emotionally available. So let's put it together now. The alpha bridge practice: lower the pressure, right? Choose one soft focus, plant one identity statement, and that is it. Simple. The problem is people try to make these kinds of things hard, but the simple things are the most powerful, right? Simple but powerful, because when practiced consistently, this teaches your mind a new sequence. Instead of I feel pressure, so I spiral, you begin practicing I feel pressure, so I soften. Instead of I'm overwhelmed, so I attack myself, you begin practicing I'm overwhelmed, so I create space. Instead of I need to force a breakthrough, you begin practicing I can prepare my state for change and the space for a breakthrough to come through. And that is a new identity. That is rewiring. And this ultimately is especially important for manifestation, because manifestation is not just wishing. Manifestation is becoming, and becoming requires your system to recognize a new reality as possible, safe, familiar, and true. If you're trying to manifest from fear, your system keeps rehearsing fear. If you're trying to manifest from desperation, your system keeps rehearsing lack. If you're trying to manifest from pressure, your system keeps rehearsing urgency. But when you enter calm awareness, calm focus, right? Relaxed focus, relaxed awareness, something changes. You can imagine without gripping, right? You can affirm without forcing. You can choose without panic, and you can visualize without desperation. You can listen to the next step, and you can feel the difference between a fear thought and an aligned thought. That is why alpha matters. Alpha gives your new identity room to breathe. Alpha is also where the conscious mind begins to stop blocking the doorway. So that makes alpha where you begin to feel I don't have to become someone new through force, and I can become through repeated alignment. And that is a very different kind of power. Quiet power, regulated power, embodied power. The kind of power that does not need to prove itself every second. The kind of power that can choose. And remember, choice is the foundation of change. So today's reframe is calm is not me falling behind. Calm is me preparing my mind to receive a new pattern. And say that again. Calm is not me falling behind. Calm is me preparing my mind to receive a new pattern. And today's identity statement is I am learning to create the state where my new identity can land. That's it. That is the shift. Because many people want the new identity, but they never create the state where that identity feels safe. They want confidence, but they keep practicing self-attack. They want peace, but they keep feeding urgency. They want abundance, but they keep rehearsing fear and lack and scarcity. They want love, but they keep bracing for rejection. They want purpose, but they keep trying to prove they are enough, or they're worthy, or they're good enough, or they belong, or they're significant. Alpha interrupts that. Alpha says pause, align, breathe, create space, return to the body, and let the mind soften. Now choose, and don't go back on your choice. That is the bridge. And when you practice this bridge often enough, you begin to become a different kind of person. Not because your life instantly becomes perfect, but because your relationship with your own mind and reciprocity in the universe begins to change. You stop treating every thought like a command. You stop treating every feeling like a prophecy. And you stop treating every moment of discomfort like proof that you are failing or falling or whatever. You begin to notice this is a state, this is a pattern, this is a loop, and I can work with it. And awareness, that awareness, right? That is awareness. And awareness is the beginning of freedom. So here is your action step for today. And these action steps obviously are the smaller, the more, the easier ones, right? It's not like you're ever going to do anything superficially hard or just like superbly hard in any way. But ultimately, these are the ones where you can just integrate, right? We can say the things and we can let them just land in. And that's what's important about these. So choose one moment today to practice the Alpha Bridge, right? Where you can actually put this in practice for yourself. Not when life is perfect, not when you have an hour, and not when everything is silent. Just one moment, pause, lower the pressure, choose one soft focus, right? Plant one identity statement, one that empowers you. For example, I am safe to slow down in that moment. And then breathe and let the sentence land. Let the body hear it. Let yourself know that that's the truth for you, right? No one's going to come in and tell you that it's not. So let your mind become calm enough to receive it. And because calm is not passive, calm is a doorway. Calm is a bridge. Calm is where rewiring begins. You're not weak because you need calm, and you're not weak because you are calm. You are wise when you learn how to create it, right? When you can create calm out of chaos, you are the wisest one in the room. And when you understand your state, you gain more power to change your pattern. Clarity creates choice. Choice creates change. Change creates the life you love. And until next time, stay curious and welcome to the Rewiring.